Okay, well, can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm Ariga Grigoryan with University of Wisconsin Madison Division of Extension, and I'm county-based educator in Sawyer County and Lukutare Tribe, and I focus on community development. And I have been doing this work here in Wisconsin for the past 10 years. And previously, when I came to this position, I didn't know anything about tribes. And as a matter of fact, being a European, Armenian, Russian descent, I always thought that tribes don't exist here anymore. So I had to build the relationships to be able to work with tribes. And Lukutare tribe means short ears. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this tribe. It's in Northwest Wisconsin. And we call shortly LCO. So if I say LCO, you probably would already know. So a couple of things that I wanted to share about my work with LCO. How do I scroll this? Okay. So I will focus on local food systems and just reflecting the first presentation, which was very interesting. We do a lot of community development work, organizational development, leadership development, and trying to see the community through the lens of that community and understand the culture and values of those communities are very important. So I will talk about local foods. That there was a SARE grant that we received a while ago and wanted to measure the impact of local foods in Sawyer County and LCO. Tribe. And local food systems, it also includes food sovereignty that LCO is working on for the past maybe 10, 15 years continuously. Yep. And so the SARE grant was focusing on utilizing the toolkit that would measure the economics of local food systems. It's a guide that was created by USDA, but also a colleague of mine, Steve Deller, was part of that guide. And it offers different tools that you can subtract whatever works for your community and you use it in that community. It includes interviews, identifying the outlets of local food systems. And within this work, I identified 3 farmers markets that we had in Sawyer County. They were LCO Farmers Market, Hayward Farmers Market, and a small Stone Lake Farmers Market. It's a small town in Sawyer County. And I'm going to talk about the LCO Farmers Market today because this study helped me kind of direct my research in a different direction. So let's look. I created surveys. I adapted them from farmers market organization and kind of went with the same surveys in 3 farmers markets in Sawyer County, and one of them was, of course, the Lukutare tribe, and it included customers, vendors, and farmers market managers. So we kind of wanted to know the perspective of everybody involved in local food systems. And I'm gonna just share what some of those surveys revealed. So this is in LCO, okay, and this was in 2017. 75% sell at the LCO farmers market, ranging from 5 to 8 years. And 100% responded they sell processed food. So the vendor baseline in LCO is 6 to 7 vendors. They're mainly tribal members. And so 100% meaning all 7 vendors. 75 responded that they're selling fresh farm products. And I'm kind of gonna go over this a little bit so it gives you perspective. 75% responded sales increased by less than 25% compared to 2016. So you can see there's an increase of sales, there is more participation. Vendors rely on their spouses to have access in the market. To have success at the market, sorry, it means they help set up the table, the tents, and everything. And half of the vendors rely on their fellow vendor to set up at the market. If there is no spouse or family member, the farmers market managers or other fellow vendors help. So 75% of vendors rely from 1 to 5% of income from the LCO farmers market. So their annual income is from 1 to 5% reliance, and 25% rely on from 5 to 15% of sales. So that's quite a bit. for the annual income for a tribal member, tribal producer. LCO farmers market producers average age is from 55 to 65. You can see there is not enough young people involved, although there are producers, but there aren't people who are at the farmers market. 75% practice non-certified organic farming, and 1% leases the land but owns the crop, which means there is again land ownership issue here, which was one of the questions that actually pointed out to land conversation, land ownership in tribal communities. It doesn't look like very similar situation in non-tribal communities. So you kind of have to really know, even when you craft the questions in questionnaire, what kind of question that could be. So 50% responded they have access from 2 to 75 acres of land, meaning maybe 2 people have land access, but it's not on the reservation, so it should be off of the reservation. 75% responded they own the land. So again, we talk about land ownership not on reservation. 25% responded they lease the land but own the crop. Sorry, the file repeated. Sorry, never mind. So in 2000, so if we look at the surveys that were like for Hayward Farmers Market, for Stone Lake and LCO, it was the same survey for 3 farmers markets, but I couldn't get that. I couldn't get the conversation I couldn't get a deeper conversation from the tribal farmers market. So I would say the pros were, I got a good data. Okay, I got a good data. What's going on behind the scenes for a farmer, for a tribal vendor. But it was not culturally relevant. It didn't allow me to have a conversation and understand the real needs of the LCO farmers market. How do I connect with the farmers, with the vendors? Do not allow to connect with the community, focused on business rather than community, okay? It gave me a good sense of how the business runs, but it's not what about food sovereignty is. You know, it's not how to run a business, it's how to provide self-sufficiency to the community. Seemed one size fits all and did not tell the story. So, and I have a colleague, dear colleague of mine, Annie Jones, Dr. Annie Jones, that is organizational development and tribal nations specialist in UW-Madison. She is also in extension. She is a Menominee tribal member, and she specializes on Madisonville. So I asked if we could create a survey based on Madisonville that would we would go to our community and kind of those questions around the Madisonville. I'm not teaching Madisonville here. I will just say that how many of you know about Madisonville? Okay, so it's about health and healing. It's a tribal concept that for health and healing, and it gives 4 directions. Includes Father Sky, Mother Earth, and Tree Spirit. And again, I may not be allowed, I don't know much about details, and that's why I relied on Dr. Annie Jones in this perspective. And also, if anyone would down the road use anything like this, they should work with community members that are coming from that community to avoid cultural appropriation, like just I did. So, okay, it points out to 4 directions: north, east, south, and west, and that includes other elements that are tribally relevant. So I went back, and Annie helped me. Annie created this survey. She helped me create this survey. So these were the questions that we came up with. She came up with: how important is the farmers market in the LCO community? What do you like most about the farmers market, and how can we improve it? Those were the concerns. And I can move this. Emotions. What can we do to bring in more visitors or customers? And under implementation, which is the body, how can we make it more Ojibwe culturally relevant? And as what foods are important for you and your family? And I went back to the LCO Farmers Market, and this is what I got. I got more stories I got more connection. So people told me the farmers market is extremely important. They would like to see more tribal members be vendors. It's important to have access to healthy foods. Under concerns, which were positive comments, there was a location. They like the location. They like the fresh produce. Most vendors, variety of fresh veggies and fruits. Small vendors and growers. So you can see that there is more emotional connection here. We see the farmers market open and then we stop. There is experience there. There is more variety of stands, and they would like to have more days, have electricity on site. A lot of people don't remember it's on Fridays. So there is more room to improve on marketing. Open earlier in season, have more days, not just Fridays, and more vendors, more variety. And under emotions, we have to advertise more. There was more signage use, more flyers to resorts, bigger signs. People who buy know it's there. Put more signs, okay, in buses, gas stations, and the C-store. This is on the reservation. Advertise in papers, WOJB, which is tribal radio, and the casino. Under body implementation, we bring in more native foods. Wild rice, cultural arts and crafts, handmade work, native vegetable content, native artwork, and have LCO food recipes. Under self, we have again tribal foods that reflect the identity and culture. Wild rice and wild rice flour, breads, fresh vegetables, homegrown vegetables. Seasonal vegetables, corn, potatoes, melons. And you can see it's a lot of tribal fruits and vegetables. So this is the pretty much what I wanted to share, but this is another, there's a lot of layers to local food systems, not only in Sawyer County that is non-tribal tribal community, but even more layers in LCO. Because one, for LCO, food sovereignty looks different. It's self-sufficiency. It's not how to run a business. In non-tribal, it's straightforward, you know, to make more money, to expand the production. But for tribal communities, it's the connection. It's how to bring in that self-sufficiency first and independence on of the food sovereignty, and not the business mindset in the first place. Second, if we look at the land ownership, how do we produce? Where do we produce? Okay, and again, it brings us to that land conversation, and how do we move forward with the programs, with food sovereignty, and facilitate that process as extension educators. Okay, how do we understand the community where they're at? Wild rice, cranberries, and things that are harvested in wilderness, they are, and people, and some of those questions were answered by tourists. Okay, tourists want to come and have that tribal experience in the reservation, have that connection, have that story, but how do we bring and market things that are harvested in wild? Okay, because there isn't, there should be that understanding. How do we promote tribal foods? So I'm just trying to show that there are so many layers in food sovereignty, that how we promote those foods and not damage the community, not damage what traditionally has been done, and also facilitate that process economically. So this is where my work is at, and for the next steps, I will move forward with a study that was designed by First Nations Institute. It's a toolkit that also helps you measure the economics, but it's a tribal toolkit. So that will be more focusing on storytelling, on bringing the elderly and share those values and traditions. And I cannot do that work by myself. I need to have a tribal member who would be partnering with me. So having that connection in community and bringing those stories, and again, with their permission, whether I can publish that research, whether I can bring that research to community and talk about it. So that would be also something that I have to receive a permission from the tribal government. So things that extension educators do is more applied research, and if one method doesn't work, how to